Hello, and welcome. I have tweeted about the stream, so I will now start the drawing. Silver, hello. Welcome. Hubsy Ops. Hubsy Oops? Hubsy Ops. Welcome. Thank you for the follow, I appreciate it. And I'm well, Silver. I hope that you are too. Oh, thank you, Hubsy. I'm glad that you like them. This that way a little. I'm debating on if I want to have his face kind of down or not. Micah, hello. Yes, I was taking a nap, which is always a dangerous game on days when I want to stream. But I woke up in time, this time. But it's one of those things where I would like to continue to be asleep. But I'm sure I'll fully wake up a little bit more here soon. So, kind of want to bring this down a little. Only so you can like see that he's holding his hat. debating on if I want to give him an undershirt or not. I might, just because it's Twitch, and I feel like they'll get mad at me if I don't. But I also don't really feel like drawing one. Oh. Never give him a shirt. Jack, Turnip, hello to you both. I didn't see you come in. I was too focused on the sketch. I think that needs to be slightly further. Bring this like in a little bit more. Just to get a little bit of that. Largest rabbit. That's a wonderful name. Hello and welcome and thank you for the follow. But yeah, I'm trying to get this like lean in here. Yes, we are drawing Junior tonight. Something like that, I guess. I guess it's fine. Something like here. I don't want this branch to touch his arm, but I do want this tree here in general. I think that will do fine. I'm gonna move him this way a little more. I didn't really want his arm cut off here, but I don't know if there's any way around it really. Unfortunately. Cecil? Yeah, I wanted to go for like a similar pose from yesterday, but I want to do some slightly more interesting lighting this time around, so it's Junior today, because it'll be outside. Put like another little cloud over here, I guess. Terrible for Jesse. He's terrible for most people. That's like his whole deal. just gonna go straight into the lines, actually. There's a couple things that I'm still gonna have to figure out in a minute, but I'll figure those things out when I get there. That seems fine. He's toxic? He's toxic for, like, all of the boys that I draw, basically. Anyone else usually is a fan of his. But for all of the other boys, he is not the best person to be around. Like, no. Wait. Like you as in, like, the fan of him? Or, like, are you saying you're toxic? Because I don't think you're toxic. You're not gonna be bad-mouthing my friends that way, mister. This is not what I want. I want a circle. Give me a circle. Here we go. Both are true. No. Lies and slander, I say. I don't like this. This is like way bigger than the other button. My palm was resting on the screen, so it didn't fully click in there. Circle. Sometimes Mercury doesn't fully listen to your gestures when you try to do that sort of thing. It can be very annoying. Calamari, hello. We are drawing Junior tonight. Something like that, I guess. I'm debating on if I wanted to fully close this line, but I don't think I want to. Sometimes when I fully connect a line, it'll seem too thick, like too dark in that spot, if that makes sense. So I will opt to not do that. Harley Fever. Hello and welcome. Thank you for the follow, I appreciate that. I hope your fever is not too bad. Hello. Oh, well, thank you, Harley. I appreciate that. I'm glad you like it. Something like that, I guess. This is the part where I start second guessing how big his head is. It happens to me with every drawing. Second guessing? Yes. In pretty much every drawing, I will do a double take about how large the characters' heads are. Because I almost always draw them too big at first. I think that that's fine though, probably. Do that when you use references. Yeah, I understand. I'm the same way. Because my boys don't generally have entirely realistic proportions. Like head to body ratio wise, in particular. So sometimes I have to like reevaluate what my size ratio is going to be like, I guess. Because usually they're bigger than a normal person's head. But if I make it too big, then they look very young. And that's not always what I want. No one's as cute. It's because they've got chibi qualities to them with their large heads. It makes them more adorable. So 2 things. First of all, this hand is too big. Oh no, that's not what I wanted at all. I have to get the right size line back. Hold on. That's close enough. This hand is too large, but also I don't like the pose so much, so I'm gonna make a new layer and figure it out. So, use another color just to make it extra clear. Okay. So, this is the general meaty part of the hand. And we want his hat to kind of come up this way. So I think maybe like this. Something like that, I guess. I was gonna put his thumb like back there, but I think it would make more sense to be like right here in the space between his fingers. So I'm gonna do that instead. Oh yeah, finding the balance between like simple and super detailed is always a bit of a struggle. Especially for me, because I usually am like not at all a fan of doing crazy hyper detailed stuff. it always looks so impressive and good, but I almost always will lose patience with a drawing if I'm working on it for too long. Which I think is just sort of a side effect of constantly doing these every day. I got a weird tangent going on if I put this here though. So I'm going to bring it further down a little bit. Get more of his face this way as well, so I'm going to have to figure that out when I get there. I guess that's how we're drawing this. Alright, so on this layer I'm gonna have to like kind of more figure out where the rest of his like features are gonna go. So that's gonna be more like here. That's gonna kind of come up that way. Yeah. Good enough. Sometimes it can be kind of hard to tell where all my final lines are going. When that's one of the reasons that I like using a sketchy pencil brush for when I do sketches is it's a lot more easy to differentiate between my sketch lines and my final lines if I'm just like glancing around on the page. Because even though there's like an opacity and a color difference here, it still like takes me a second. So I find that often when I do sketches in this way, I will forget things and then later on be like, oh, I didn't draw this line here like at all. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen with this. Also, I don't draw Junior's hair a ton, so I gotta kind of figure out how it's gonna be. But it's basically like Jesse's hair, but a little bit shorter and a little bit more messy because it's under a hat like 90% of the time, I guess. So I guess if Jesse had short hair, this is kind of what it would look like. Only this is a little more blonde. By which I mean a lot more blonde, because Jesse's not blonde. Make sure this is all fine. Something like that. Oh, I didn't draw this arm at all. Let me do something about that. Oh, I almost forgot. How is everybody doing? I usually ask that when I get to this point in the drawing and forgot all about it. I hope everyone is well. You're sketching nice. I hope the sketch is going well. Sketching is always one of my favorite parts. Just because you can be really loose and it's usually really fun. Has the same name as a younger, cuter replacement. That's not true. No one can be you better than you. Framing some artwork for a gallery, that sounds fun. I remember helping friends with framing stuff before, and it was like always a fun and interesting experience, but also it like takes a lot more work than I expected when I agreed to help. Trying to build up your way of drawing structural drawings with reference. Nice. Reference is a powerful tool. I want this to be a little closer to here. Oh, that's what I want. Gotta draw some like seam lines for his pants. Yeah, I guess this is fine. Yeah, why not? Push too much to get everything the same as the reference. I understand that feeling. Sometimes you just gotta get it kind of close. And then, his eye is bothering me. Just get it like as close as you can, and then take a step back and come back later, and you'll realize what you want to change or whatever. Plus, it never has to be exactly perfect unless that's what you're going for, you know? Referencing is all about, like, helping you to visualize what it is you're trying to draw. Unless you're, like, purposely trying to do a one-on-one realistic recreation of something, you don't generally need to 100% stick to your reference. You can just get away with saying it's like some artistic expression or something. Artistic license. But when it comes to like practicing and stuff, I understand how you feel. Oops. But when I was learning how to do like what's it called? Like life drawing stuff, where you have like a model who's like posing. Oh, I knew I was gonna forget a line somewhere. Who's like posing in front of you. What helped me the most was to think of it more like sketching. You think of it more as like taking notes for something visual, right? So it's generally not meant to be like the most perfect thing in the world. It's all about helping you to figure out what it is you want to do later on. But if you're going for like proportional likeness type things, drawing and like measuring and stuff is your best friend. Just finding like relative things will really help as far as like getting a likeness to look the way you want it to look. That's that thing of like anytime you see in like cartoons or something where like the painter does like this, but they're like pointing it at something and they're like trying to figure stuff out. That's them using the mark on their brush or pencil or whatever to be like, okay, like say I'm looking at this person, right? So I could hold my pencil an arm's length away from them and kind of mark with my thumb, okay, this is how big the head is. So if I'm trying to gauge the height of the person, I would say their head or their body is about like this many heads tall, right? And all you're doing is trying to find like proportional lines to things. So like these things line up, or like the chin lines up here, or this arm lines up over here, that type of stuff. Where you're sort of looking at like, okay, this and this intersect on this line. So when you draw the sketch, the way I did it, it made it like completely illegible to everyone else, but I physically will draw those lines sometimes and be like, okay, these things need to stay lined up. So eventually it becomes kind of like a puzzle almost, where you're trying to line everything up with one another. But it usually lends to a more accurate result. But I say that as a person who hates how inaccurate his likenesses are when I draw people, so take that with a grain of salt, I suppose. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna pause the stream because I got a work phone call. Hello, I'm back. It's the IRS. Oh no. I'm glad I looked at the chat though. I was about to start drawing without turning my camera back on. That would have been embarrassing. What am I doing? I want a detail layer. That's what's happening now. That means I'm drawing some details. I'm actually like crazy panicked about taxes like 90% of the time. I do them, even though for me they haven't really changed much over the past few years. Although I think this year is the first year I'm gonna have to like figure out how to report Twitch and stuff. Because I didn't have to do that last year. It wasn't on that calendar year. But this time it is. Oh no. That was like the biggest thing keeping me from like making a Patreon though, was because I was like, how do I do taxes with this? Do they give me a form that I can just plug into something somewhere? I imagine it's not super difficult though if like so many people are using it, so maybe I'll have to look into it or something. Do like a Patreon or something. So that perhaps I can draw more boys and other things. Wouldn't that be something? What a concept. I'm trying to not get too overboard with these little hair details. These ones are too heavy. But yeah, because anytime I get too like carried away with stuff like that, it tends to look like we're doing a Felix drawing. That's not what we want. That's one of the reasons I think that Felix doesn't take as long to draw as I always expect him to. It's because with everyone else I kind of have to find some form of like restraint with where I'm putting these like hair details and things. But with Felix, I don't generally have to do that. He's very fuzzy. Oh, he has freckles. Yeah, I usually just kind of do whatever for Felix, as long as it's like everything is kind of flowing in the same general direction, it'll be fine. And I have to not get too carried away with his freckles too, because then he'll start to look like Roz a little. The main difference between their freckles is that Roz's freckles are like everywhere, and his are only on his like face and shoulders and neck. But then they kind of stop. Yeah. That all seems fine. Let's make a new layer and put this above it. Where's that palette that I use sometimes? This is the one. I think originally I had this as 2 hills, and this was meant to be trees. Oh, you can't really see it because the opacity is so low. This was meant to be trees, but now it kind of looks like a cloud. So I'm just gonna do that instead. I'll still do like a little hill back here though. Turn it down a little, get like a little bit of atmospheric perspective in there. And then I think what I'll do is just sort of be real simple with these here shapes. Can never go wrong with a good cloud in the background. I mean, you would think so, but I have done it before. This is one of my favorite ways to do like big grassy fields. Is to just kind of draw the shapes like where the clouds are kind of breaking over the field with like 1 or 2 little grassy leaves kind of sticking up. Something like that. This. Let's try it and see. I like to sort of vary the pen pressure I use when I draw like branches and trees. Or I'm just sort of intentionally like easing up and pressing down, because then it gives you these little lumpy edges when you're done. It's usually a fun time. What was I gonna do? Oh, let's grab this and try that. Make this a clipping mask. Turn this on to multiply. I'm gonna leave it very dark at first, just so I can see what I'm doing. But I'm just kind of Adding some little swirly bits for the tree. Do I want that there? I don't know that I do. And then just like the hairs and stuff, I don't want to overdo this effect. So I think I'll stop there. So before I forget about these clouds, let me do those. And similar to the branches on the tree, you can do that like varying pressure to get some more dynamic and interesting lines for clouds as well, if that's the look you're going for. Sometimes it works. Other times it doesn't quite give me what I want, but it'll at least get me like closer to the general area that I'm trying to go for. Trying to use these clouds to sort of frame the things in the foreground a little. So I'm still trying to keep in mind things like tangents and having lines line up with things I don't want them to line up with. That's why I kind of moved that one down. Something like that, I guess. Yeah. And we're gonna use this color. I've decided
I can turn off that sketch layer now. That wasn't it. It's this one. These are all the sketch layers, so I can move these all to the bottom. If Perforate will let me. There we go. Okay. I do that a lot with clouds where I sort of have them leaning in a way I don't necessarily want. So I'm just trying to adjust for that. Just trying to add a little bit of depth to the clouds. I'm going to turn that clipping mask off for just a second so I can make sure I close this shape. Something like that. Pin of a cow's head on his overalls. Okay. I will do this thing. I will do the thing that you have asked of me. No guarantees that this cow is gonna look good though. It's been a minute since I've drawn a cow's head, for any reason. The uglier the better. Oh no. That seems fine. We're just gonna turn that down. And wow, we got us some clouds. I'm just gonna group some things together for the sake of not having to scroll so much. Wait, I don't want to do that yet because I want to add one more thing. Just kind of randomly tapping here. This is one of those things that would be like way easier and more fun to do if I had like an actual brush. Implying like leaf shapes is so very fun when you have a brush. But when I do it with like a pencil, it feels like I'm gonna scratch the screen or something just from tapping the screen in the way that I'm doing it. Bean Team, hello. Ice Jam, also, hello. Didn't see you come in, I'm sorry. Trying to leave some like small holes in these leaves. In the little canopy area. Okay, now I'll group all those together. This is the tree. Yeah, why not trees? Fine. What was I gonna draw on here? Oh yeah, a cow. How draw a cow? Honestly, I'm here for it. I didn't think it was gonna be good, but I like this a lot. Okay, so I'm gonna put that here. I really like the uneven eyes, so I'm gonna keep it. Very good. What? Oh, I was on the wrong layer. Dang. That's fine. I just didn't want it too close to that other line that was there. I have the world's creakiest chair today. Jeez. Knew you could count on me. I see what you've done. And I can neither condone nor endorse such a pun. But I see you. This looks extra pale up against these colors. Banned. I could never do such a thing. I've been watching Miyazaki films a lot lately, ever since watching Howl's Moving Castle, I always want to call you Turnip Head, just because of the character in that movie. I just wanted to point that out to you. I've been dealing with a great deal of restraint, not calling you Turnip Head all the time. There are so many, like, things that will catch me off guard in those movies, though, like rewatching them now. Because I'm always, like, surprised at how many famous people are in them, like, doing voice acting, at least for the English versions that are on HBO. Like, I was watching Castle in the Sky, or La Puta, whatever you want to call it, the other night. And I was surprised that, like, Anna Paquin is, like, the female lead in that movie. It's like, wow. Apparently she was, like, 7 or 8 when that movie came out. But still, it was kind of surprising to me. And the dude who did Patsu was like James Vanderbeek or something like that. And I normally don't have like any idea of what any of these boys sound like, but watching that movie I was like, if his voice was slightly deeper, I could see this being a Tank voice. But then I saw him like in an interview about Dawson's Creek, I guess was the show he was in. I didn't watch it. But you know, he's like an adult now, because I guess when that movie came out he was like a child. So hearing his like adult voice, I was like, I don't know about this anymore. Maybe I was wrong with my initial judgment. Oh, almost forgot about this little pocket. Okay. These are this color. Oops. And before I get too far, I've still not seen Ponyo yet. That is the next one on my list, though. I've just kind of been going through them all. Because the majority of them I haven't like seen all the way through, but I've seen like bits and pieces of. One of those was Totoro, and when I finally watched Totoro, I was like more disturbed by it than I expected to be. Like every time you see Totoro, it's like, oh, he's like super adorable. And like he is. But only for like a handful of parts in that movie is he like very adorable. Every other part he's like terrifying. Like seeing that as a small child, I would not be like, I want this to be my friend. I would be like, oh no. This thing's going to devour me. It would be so terrifying and scarring. But man, did he look comfy when they laid on him. He's a delight, but like anytime he opens his mouth really big, it's like, oh god, this thing's gonna murder me. It's so funny to me. He's like a forest spirit turnip. And quaint seaside towns are like such a vibe. that I enjoy. I felt the same way when I watched Luca. I was like, I just want to live by the ocean and sell fish or something. Oh, Spirit is a fan theory. That's interesting. I could see that maybe, but it seemed more that he was like explicitly like a forest spirit, I think. At least to me, when I watched it. There was a lot of like very unexpectedly sad bits about that movie that I'm not going to talk too much about. If you want to still watch it, turn it. But like upon sitting down and like actually watching it, I was like, this is real depressing, actually. Because it's one thing when you like hear about a thing from a lot of people, and especially if that thing is like something that they probably, like some piece of media that they probably consumed many, many years ago when maybe they didn't have the context for something. But to like see a movie like Totoro or something like that, like without any sort of like without like the full context of what it is ahead of time, and not having that like nostalgia attached to it, I don't know, it was like a very interesting experience. Because it was like, I know people enjoy this for various reasons, even though I may not fully understand what all of those reasons are. I'm just gonna do this way. But yeah, so it was like watching stuff now was kind of like, oh, this is kind of weird, actually. Which is why I think I was kind of surprised about like how much I enjoyed Castle in the Sky. Because I remember watching it and like actually laughing out loud multiple times and being like, I'm surprised that I'm laughing this hard at this. I've still not seen Grave of the Fireflies either, because I know it's very sad and I know I'm gonna be like depressed about it. So I'm like avoiding it. What if I just used this color but like darker for the lines? What about that though? Yeah, I liked Castle in the Sky a lot. It was so good. There were so many like very pleasant things about it. Just like in general. Good vibes all around. The one I had watched just before it was Tales from Earthsea, or Tales from the Earthsea. I don't remember what it is exactly. And that movie, I kept falling asleep because it was like, it's kind of a slow burn as far as like the progression of it goes, but like the beginning of it especially, everybody's like, everyone's kind of like ASMR talking directly into the microphone like this. Especially like the villain, he kind of speaks like this for the majority of the beginning of the film. And so I was like, what's happening? I kept falling asleep. Tales from Earthsea Silver. But then, like, once he started to get more, like, enthusiastic, I was like, wait a minute. Hold on. This villain is Willem Dafoe. I've been listening to Willem Dafoe ASMR for the past 45 minutes. It was very surprising and very funny to me. And then after that, all I could think about was like the Green Goblin doing ASMR. It was pretty great. But yeah, like apparently all of the Ghibli movies, there's like a ton of randomly famous people in those doing voice stuff. There was another like main character who was another famous person that I can't remember right now, but it was also surprising when I found out that it was another famous person. So I was like, I didn't expect them to be in this. Fried nudes. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I'm just gonna do the cow on this layer as well. Whoops. I thought that was that swatch, but it was not. I guess. Yeah. Do I want the horns to be a different color is now my question. I guess so. I suppose I will do this. And it's like a pin, right? So. You know, Spider-Man, you and I are not so different. I could never quite get it correct. I don't have the sultry voice of Willem Dafoe. Oh wait, I'm being too aggressive with these lines and they're showing through. I don't want that. And then I need a... Oh. Now that I'm this close, I can see that this blue has gone out of the lines. Whoa. And I can also see that I need to erase some things here. I was gonna leave it, but the more I kept looking at it, the more it was bothering me, so. Danny Defoe role. I feel you. I couldn't quite make it through The Lighthouse because, again, I was like watching it when I was tired, so I kept falling asleep. But that, I think, is the wildest I've seen Willem Dafoe. You've been at work this whole time, Turnip? Now I feel like a bad influence. Encouraging your slacking off, or whatever. Yeah. I don't think I'm forgetting. Oh, yes, I am forgetting some stuff. I'm forgetting all about this hat. What a tragedy that would have been. Usually at work for 2 more hours. Oh man, I had no idea. You'd have me on stream while drawing, or while at work. I'm flattered by this. But also, I don't want to be a distraction. If you've got important work things to do. I'm always tempted to like listen to podcasts or streams or whatever while I'm at work, but then I tend to like zone out pretty hard while working on things. And then I am like, what did I just listen to? What happened? Like I don't retain any of the things that I listen to, which makes me feel bad. So I don't generally have anything on other than music. I don't know, man. I don't know what the dangers of dishwashing could entail. Maybe burn yourself on the hot water or something. Don't do that. Also, he's like standing under the tree, so that's what this lighting is happening here. This is another one that's like easy to get very carried away on, but I'm trying my best not to. Set this to multiply. Duplicate this layer just so that I have it. Actually, I'll worry about that at the end. I was gonna start like erasing things, but I'll do it after. So that way I only have to do it once. Thick gloves and high tolerance to hot water. Well, still, I don't want to potentially be the result of a scalding burn. That feels terrible. But yeah, I used to listen to like stuff like 99% Invisible I would listen to while working, just because those episodes are usually kind of short. So I'd be able to more easily digest them while working on stuff, or if I like zone out too hard, I can be like, oh, I completely didn't retain that, and I'll just re-listen to an episode. But if it's like a longer thing, where you kind of have to pay attention for a little while. I usually either zone out or like will get interrupted. So there's not much point. So what usually ends up happening is I'll do that thing where like you go to listen to music and then like you stop to listen to something else for a minute and then you're like, wasn't I listening to music? And it's been like an hour and you've been in silence the whole time. That's usually what happens to me. Micah, hello. How are you? Lex, hello. Procreate, please. It is, in fact, a moist junior. A damp junior. A soggy junior. All of the above. Soggy boy indeed. Gotta like... I'm gonna have to... Yeah, I'm just gonna have to erase some things for this pin to make sense. Good enough. This like whole side is basically gonna be in shadow, it feels like. Not necessarily bad. I just wasn't really considering that to begin with. See what you posted on your alt? The art stuff? I did see some art stuff. But that was like a few hours ago. So I'm not sure if that's what you mean. Oh, well then yes, I did. Something like this, I guess. Ah. Ugh. Sometimes you gotta make sound effects while you draw stuff. I realized just now that I like made a weird sound and didn't like offer any explanation for it. Sometimes it just happens. I don't know what to tell you. It was a nice sound. Well, thank you. I'm glad that you enjoyed it at least. I feel like it's a thing that like every artist does at some point. Because I've seen Bob Ross also do it sometimes, and I'm like, oh, I do that too. And I've had other friends who do that when they draw on stuff. It's like that thing of like when you draw a when you're like drawing an expression that's like a very emotive sort of expression. Any of you out there with like artist friends, if they're drawing an expression, look at their face. There's a very high likelihood that they will be like making the face that they're drawing. It has happened to me so many times, and I always would catch like when I took animation classes, all of my animator friends would be doing the same thing. It's very funny. It's just like some kind of subconscious thing. Sometimes it's useful for like reference reasons. Like if you have a mirror set up close by, you can kind of check out the expression as you're drawing it. But sometimes it just kind of happens without really thinking about it. Your face muscles just kind of do the thing while you're trying to think about what they would do. Or maybe me and my friends are just all very strange, but I feel like that's a common thing. Next time any of you out there are drawing an expression, think about what your face is doing. Because it might also be making that same face, is all I'm saying. Yeah, older animators would sometimes have like a mirror set up. It's still kind of a common thing, I think, with some folks today, depending on like how they work. Some folks still work with a mirror. But in those cases, it's like an intentional thing. where it's like I'm going to make this face so that I can see what happens. Sometimes it is an involuntary thing that just sort of occurs when you're drawing. Yeah, I think that that's fine. I think that's enough lighting. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to invert it, and then we're going to clear all the stuff. Yeah. So I want like a this to happen. Set this to like darken's not what I want. I guess multiply. And I'll do that same thing. And I'll help them pop out a little bit. How do I feel about cheese? I mean, like, if it's on something, it's fine, I guess, if that's what you mean. I'm not, like, the type of person who will just eat cheese on its own, though. I know folks who do that. I'm not one of those folks. Where folks will be like, oh yes, a nice cheese with some wine or something. It's like, what? I don't know about that. I guess Junior's probably the same way. Probably. They say to write what you know, and that's what I know. So, he is the same way, I have now decided. A dry drink with a dry snack. Delicious. I mean, I still start my day off every day the Zelda way, the Link way, with a full glass of milk. So, like, I understand the dairy consumption desires. I just don't like cheese on its own. It has to be, like, on something like pizza or, like, macaroni and, you know. I guess I'll set this to color dodge. I don't want to get too carried away with the lighting, the highlights either. But I will do a little bit. Just to sort of, especially up here, differentiate the form a little bit here from the background and the other such parts. Probably a little bit here. I don't think there would actually be very much of that on this particular hand, but I want that hand to stand out more from this face area. So I'm making it up it's an industry term for I'm just doing whatever I want because I think it'll look neat at the end. Sometimes people forget to tell you, but when you're making art, you can just do that. Sometimes you can just be like, I'm doing it because I think it'll look kind of cool. And that's really all you have to say. Going rogue. Set this to, I guess, color dodge also. I'm trying to think if there's like other spots I want to hit before I erase things. I think. Oh. I did want to get a little bit of this leg here. And a little bit of that there. Oops. Yeah. I'm gonna say that that's fine. I'm gonna turn this down a little. Yeah, good enough. What I'm also gonna do, don't want this where I just put that. Just gonna do it that way. This would also go in this group. I'm gonna do this now before I forget about it. This tree would also have some shadows on it. So I'm gonna do those. Trying to keep it fairly simple though. And since it's like a 3-dimensional situation and not a 2-dimensional situation, or at least we want the illusion of that, I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna erase a little bit along these grooves. I would need to make sure they're all on the same side of the grooves though. That's why I erased that one just now. Because it'll give it more of like a 3-dimensional look to it. It's very subtle, but it always works, in my opinion. Anytime you're trying to show like depth of a flat surface, anytime you can add these little like surface imperfections where you sort of add shadow to one side and then highlight to another side of the imperfection, it gives it a little more depth every time. I do the same sort of thing when I draw like basketballs, when I do Tank sitting with a basketball or something. And it makes it look more interesting than just like a round shape with like some flat lines on it. I have a little bit of extra empty space here, so I'm gonna fill it on in. Yeah. Alright, so I'm gonna stop before I overwork this too much. I think it was this color. Just adding some simple gradients here to sort of reinforce the lighting situation that's going on. But also doing this like kind of sort of vignette situation that I usually do. Helps to lead the eye of the viewer further towards the center and keep them there, I guess, if that makes sense. Like your eye will focus on the brighter spot because it's brighter. I need to fix this to be like that, I guess. I'm just gonna leave the sweat the way it is. I could do like additional shadows for each of those individual droplets, but sometimes that doesn't work the way that I would like it to work. So in this particular instance, I'm gonna just leave it. So now I'm gonna do the magic part. Which is turn on a bunch of gradient maps to make my colors actually work. That one, immediately, much more interesting. I don't know if you can really see, but like, there's a lot more depth suddenly when I have this gradient map. I'm gonna add another one. These two are the ones I usually add to things. If you are using Procreate, they are two of the default ones. They're usually quite helpful. I'm gonna turn this to normal just to see. Yeah, okay. I'm not gonna do that. It kind of kills the blue in the sky a little too much. Yeah. It's like so hard to show with this like setup, but it like is a notable color shift. It's one of those things that you'll probably see a little bit more clearly later. But I think I will turn that on still and just kind of turn it down. So that way some of these original colors still kind of shine through a little bit more. So now we bring those down here, and now I have to sign this. So I'm gonna grab this color, and I'll put my name over here. I was considering about putting it like here, but that feels too distracting. I always have such like a debate about where to put my name in these things because I want it to be in a spot that is like clearly visible, but also I don't want it to take too much away from the composition, you know? If only folks didn't steal stuff on the internet and I could just not have to sign it. The good old days. Yeah. I would say that that's good and done and stuff. So I'm gonna flatten it. Grab our round eraser brush. Come down here to this corner and just erase one little pixel. So I can save it as a PNG and Twitter compression will be slightly less bad. But yeah, so that's gonna do it for me this time, I think. Turn on the replay and check to see who is on. Maybe I can raid someone and we could say hi to them. Oh, Bear Boy is on. Let's say hi to Bear Boy. But yeah, so that'll be it for me this time, I guess. I don't know why I said it that way, but I did. Yeah. So I'm gonna go raid Bear Boy and say hi and stuff. But yeah, so I am gonna call it here for this drawing. You can see the whole thing on Twitter and Instagram in like 10 minutes probably. You'll be able to see it in much better detail than you will with this camera setup. But yeah, I'll see you guys probably again on like Monday, maybe? So until then, I hope you all have a wonderful week and a wonderful evening. And yeah, go do something nice for someone. Just for the sake of doing something nice for someone. It'll brighten up their day. And it will also brighten up yours. So until next time, I'll see you guys later. Farewell, everyone. Have a good night. Goodbye.